Let's take a look at evaluating human resource development. The evaluation phase relates to the needs assessment, design, and implementation phases in the HRD process. Ideally, there's a strong and clear linkage between the three previous phases of the HRD model and the measurement and use of data concerning the outcomes of training or HRD intervention. Was the HRD program effective? This question raises a number of concerns, such as what is meant by effectiveness? Is it the same thing as efficiency? And how is effectiveness measured? Typically, effectiveness is determined with respect to the achievement of a goal or a set of goals. HRD effectiveness must be determined in relation to the goals of the program or programs being examined. An HRD or training program can be effective in meeting some goals, like staying within budget or increasing a participant's skills, and ineffective in meeting others, like improving customer satisfaction. We must also address the issue of effectiveness for whom, that is, trainees, trainers, managers, and others that might have different viewpoints concerning the effectiveness of an HRD intervention. Therefore, it makes sense to examine effectiveness more specifically. HRD evaluation is the systematic collection of information necessary to make effective training decisions. When conducting an evaluation, both descriptive and judgmental information may be collected. Descriptive information provides a picture of what's happened, whereas judgmental information communicates some opinion or belief about what has happened. Evaluation involves the systematic collection of information according to a predetermined plan to ensure that the information is appropriate and useful. Evaluation is conducted to help managers, employees, and HRD professionals make informed decisions about particular programs and methods. Building credibility is a key aspect of conducting an evaluation. After all, other functions performed within an organization are evaluated to determine their effectiveness. If the HRD department cannot demonstrate effectiveness, it may not be taken as seriously within the organization. Thus, evaluation is a critical step in the HRD process. It is the only way one can know whether an HRD program has fulfilled its objectives. Given their importance, one might expect that HRD programs are regularly and carefully evaluated. Unfortunately, that's not the case. HRD researchers have long lamented the lack of rigorous evaluation of HRD programs. Many articles have been written about the importance of conducting evaluations, but more organizations pay lip service to evaluations than actually conduct them. Conducting an evaluation requires time, resources, and expertise that the HRD staff may not have or may not be willing to expend. Those associated with HRD programs may be afraid of criticism and program cuts if the evaluation shows that programs are not effective. Yet the fact is that HRD evaluations can and should be done in organizations to ensure effectiveness and accountability. It's the ethical responsibility of HRD professionals to provide evidence to the organization of program effectiveness. Many HRD and training programs are purchased by organizations from third parties, such as consultants or vendors. Some practitioners believe that they fulfill their evaluation responsibility in their pre-purchase decision. The logic is that they wouldn't buy a program they didn't think was going to work, so if they have made a wise purchasing decision or evaluated the program before buying it, then it's not necessary to conduct any post-program evaluation. Indeed, supervisors and HRD professionals should be wise consumers of programs and equipment used in their HRD efforts. It's equally important to judge the effectiveness of the program or the device after it's been put into place. Efforts at training evaluation have moved through 4 stages since the 1960s. Stage 1 focuses on anecdotal reactions from trainers and program participants. Judging from survey results, it appears many organizations still operate at this level. Stage 2 involves borrowing experimental methodology from academic laboratories to use in program evaluation. Organizational constraints make application of these designs difficult, thus discouraging evaluation efforts. Stage 3 creatively matches the appropriate research methodology to existing organizational constraints, thus making program evaluation more practical and feasible. Stage 4 recognizes that the entire training and HRD process affects the organization and shifts the focus of evaluation from post-program results to the entire HRD process. It should be emphasized that it's possible to creatively apply sound research methods to HRD evaluation designs and have useful data for making decisions. Effective evaluation serves all parties: the organization, the trainer or HRD professional, and the trainees. A model of evaluation outlines the criteria for and focus of an evaluation. Because an HRD program can be examined from a number of perspectives, it's important to specify which perspectives will be considered. Many different frameworks of HRD evaluation have been suggested. The most widely used evaluation approach has been the framework laid out by Donald Kirkpatrick. We'll discuss this first. While the different models and frameworks share some features, they also differ in important ways. The most popular and influential framework for training evaluation is articulated by Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick argues that training efforts can be evaluated according to 4 criteria: reaction, learning, behavior, and results. Do the trainees like the program and feel that it was valuable? Positive reactions to a training program may make it easier to encourage employees to attend future programs. Did the trainees learn what the HRD objectives said they should learn? Measuring whether someone has learned something may involve a quiz or a test, a different method from assessing the participant's reaction to the program. Does the trainee use what was learned in the training back on the job? If learning does not transfer to the job, the training effort cannot have an impact on employee or organizational effectiveness. Has the training improved the organization's effectiveness? Is the organization more efficient, more profitable, or better able to serve its customers? Meeting this criteria is considered the bottom line for most managers. Kirkpatrick's framework provides a useful way of looking at the possible consequences of training and reminds us that HRD efforts often have multiple objectives. Findings about HRD evaluation show that organizations generally do not collect information on all 4 types of outcomes. Many discussions about HRD evaluations are organized around Kirkpatrick's 4-level criteria. However, Kirkpatrick's approach has also been the target of considerable criticism and modification. Researchers have expanded Kirkpatrick's ideas to encourage practitioners to do a more thorough job of evaluation. In one model, the CIPP, Context, Input, Process, Product model, evaluation focuses on measuring 4 things: context for training, inputs for training, process of conducting the training program, and product or outcome of the training. Another extends the training evaluation model to 6 stages with a cycle of overlapping steps, with problems identified in one step possibly caused by negative occurrences in previous steps. The stages are 1. Goal setting, 2. Program design, and 3. Program implementation. 4. Immediate outcomes, 5. Intermediate or usage outcomes, and 6. Impacts and worth. Noting that learning outcomes can be of 3 types: cognitive, skill-based, and effective, researchers propose a classification scheme for evaluating learning outcomes in each of these 3 areas. This scheme is quite specific, identifying the types of measures that can be used for learning outcomes in each category. One final model, similar to Kirkpatrick's, also includes individual variables like motivation to learn, ability, job attitudes, and environmental variables like transfer climate or external events that influence these outcomes. Research supports the importance of motivation to learn on training outcomes. All of the evaluation frameworks incorporate Kirkpatrick's level of evaluation in one way or another. The most dramatic extension beyond Kirkpatrick's idea is the notion that HRD professionals should be concerned about the impact their programs have on constituencies outside of the organization. Some models differ from Kirkpatrick's in the way that they bring earlier phases of the training process, like needs assessment, design, and implementation, into the evaluation phase. Effective HRD involves many decisions. Having accurate, meaningful information available throughout the process can improve the decision-making process and enhance the overall effectiveness of HRD efforts. Overall, Kirkpatrick's framework may lack explicit causal relationships among the different levels, specifically in dealing with different types of learning outcomes, and direction concerning which assessment measures are appropriate. Despite all the criticism, Kirkpatrick's approach remains a useful way to categorize criteria that an effective HRD program must satisfy. It's also important to make informed decisions about all aspects of the HRD program. There's increasing discussion about the various stakeholders for the outcomes of training. Some recommend the use of a stakeholder scorecard for training evaluation. Four critical stakeholders for any HRD intervention are senior management, trainees, trainers, and the trainees managers. The contributions of each are what they put into the intervention, like time, money, time away from doing other things. The incentives are what's taken out or received from the training. By definition, any evaluation effort requires the collection of data to provide decision makers with facts and judgments upon which they can base their decisions. Three important aspects include data collection methods, types of data, and the use of self-reported data. The same data collection methods and sources are available when conducting training evaluation. Some common methods for collecting evaluation data include interviews, questionnaires, direct observation tests and simulations, and archival performance data. Questionnaires are most often used in HRD evaluation because they can be completed and analyzed quickly. All or any of these methods are appropriate for collecting evaluation data depending on their relevance to the questions being asked. Interviews can allow for clarification and greater depths of answers. However, they can be both costly and time-intensive and require a trained interviewer. Questionnaires can be a relatively low-cost option and allow for anonymous answers. However, respondents may misunderstand some questions or simply not fill them out. Written tests can also be relatively low in cost and are easy to administer. However, a possible limitation is whether or not the test is valid for the job in question, like whether the test is truly related to job performance. Direct observation can be an excellent way to measure behavioral change. However, a concern is whether individuals will act differently if they know that they're being observed. There are many trade-offs in determining the most appropriate data collection method to use for evaluation purposes. Three vital issues to consider when deciding which data collection method to use are reliability, validity, and practicality. Reliability has to do with the consistency of results and the freedom from error and bias in a data collection method. A method that has little or no error or bias is highly reliable, whereas the results of a method that has significant error or bias is unreliable and cannot be trusted. Decisions based on unreliable information are likely to be poor ones. Another issue to consider in selecting a data collection method is validity. Validity is concerned with whether the data collection method actually measures what we want it to measure. That is, are we hitting the right target? Reliability and validity are complex issues, and assessing them often requires knowledge of statistics and measurement concepts. In addition to being reliable and valid, data collection methods must also be practical, given the constraints of an organization. Practicality concerns how much time, money, and resources are available for an evaluation method. Realistic and creative trade-offs can ensure that an evaluation effort is carried out and yields useful information. At least three types of data are available for evaluating HRD effectiveness: individual, system-wide, and economic. Individual performance data emphasize an individual's trainee's knowledge and behavior, like Kirkpatrick's second and third levels. Examples of these kind of data include an employee's test scores, number of units produced, timeliness of performance, quality of performance, attendance, and attitudes. A complete evaluation effort would ideally include all three types of data. Different questions demand different kinds of information. The key is to carefully examine questions being asked or decisions being made when selecting which data to use. Self report data is the most commonly used type of data in HR evaluation. Self reports can offer personality data, attitudes, and perceptions, and can provide information to measure the effectiveness of HRD or other programs. Information collected this way, whether through interviews or questionnaires, can be useful and meaningful. However, two serious problems can occur when relying on self reporting data. If both reports in a before and after evaluation come from the same person at the same time, conclusions may be questionable. The respondents may be more concerned about being consistent in their answers than accurate. Respondents may report what they think the researcher wants to hear rather than the truth. For example, employees may be fearful or embarrassed to admit that they learned nothing in a training program. In addition, there can be what's referred to as a response shift bias, in which respondents' perspectives of their skills before training change during the training program and affect their after training assessment. Self report data can be useful in HRD evaluation, but relying on self report data alone can be problematic. Depending on the question being asked, direct observation by trained observers, tests, or simulations can often yield better, more conclusive information than self reports. Also, response rates to voluntary surveys is often quite low, even in organizational settings. A research design is a plan for conducting an evaluation study. Research design is a complex topic and it's vital to HRD evaluation. It specifies the expected results of an evaluation study, the methods of data collection, and how the data will be analyzed. When evaluating any HRD effort, the researcher will want to have confidence that any changes observed after a program are due to the intervention and not some other factor, like changes in the economy or reward structure. Unfortunately, it still remains quite typical that if outcomes are measured at all, they're only collected after the training program has been completed. This approach to evaluation doesn't give any indication of trainees' initial skill or knowledge level, that is, where they started, so one can't be certain that the outcomes attained were due to the training. To have greater confidence that the outcomes observed were brought about by the training and not some other extraneous factor, the following practices should be included in a research design. Pre-test and post-test, including both a pre-test and post-test, allows the trainer to see what's changed after the training. A control group is a group of employees similar to those who receive training, but they don't receive training. This group receives the same evaluation measures as the group that was trained, which allows for a comparison of scores. Combining these 2 points creates what can be called a pre-test, post-test with control group research design. We view this as the minimum acceptable research design for most training and HRD evaluation efforts. Recent efforts to combine data from different research studies via meta-analysis has also helped determine if the impact or effect size of various training interventions. Choices concerning evaluation also force the trainer or researcher to make difficult ethical decisions. Many of the decisions supervisors and HRD professionals make have ethical dimensions. Resolving the paradoxes inherent in ethical dilemmas is no easy task, but it must be addressed. Assigning participants to groups, reporting results, and conducting an evaluation study all raise ethical questions. Whenever possible, steps should be taken to ensure that the confidentiality of information collected during an evaluation study is maintained. Using code numbers rather than names, reporting group rather than individual results, using encrypted computer files, and securing research materials are ways to maintain confidentiality. In many research settings, evaluation studies are monitored by a review board to ensure that participants know the study's purpose and what they're expected to do, and the potential risks and benefits of participating. In addition, participants are asked to sign a form stating that they've been informed of these facts and agree to participate in the study. This is called obtaining the participants' informed consent. Research designs involving control groups require that some employees receive training while others do not. This apparent practicality can be problematic if the training is believed to improve some employees' performance, which could lead to organizational benefits like raises or promotions. HRD professionals may feel pressure to make certain that the results of an evaluation demonstrate that the program was in fact effective. This may be one reason why rigorous evaluation of HRD programs is not done more often. If the evaluation shows the program was not effective, the HRD department may lose funding and support. One of the more important issues to examine is the impact an HRD program has on an organization's effectiveness. This assessment can be done using a variety of performance indexes, such as productivity, timeliness, and cost savings. One goal of translating the effects of HRD programs into monetary terms is making clear that the programs are investments and will lead to payoffs for the organization in the future. Evaluation of training costs compares the costs incurred in conducting an HRD program to the benefits received by the organization and can involve two categories of activities: cost benefit evaluation and cost effectiveness evaluation. Cost benefit analysis involves comparing the monetary costs of training to the benefits received in non monetary terms, such as improvements in attitudes, safety, and health. Cost effectiveness analysis focuses on the financial benefits occurred from training, such as increases in quality and profits and reduction in waste and processing time. The general strategy for evaluating training costs is to measure cost and benefit indicators in dollar terms and then compare them. For example, a program's return on investment, ROI, can be calculated by dividing total results by total cost. The greater the ratio of results to costs, the greater the benefit the organization receives by conducting the training program. The results of an evaluation study often express the effect of an HRD program in terms of a change in some aspect of the trainee's performance or behavior. Utility analysis provides a way to translate these results into dollar terms. HRD evaluation is impacted greatly by changes and advances in technology. In general, data collection for HRD research purposes should be easier to collect via the internet. However, this is not universally true. Here's how an online or e-learning course might be evaluated using Kirkpatrick's 4 levels. Reaction is easy to gather online through continuous feedback. Trainers could use a discussion thread or a chat room that allows trainees to discuss their experiences with online learning. Learning is very easy to test electronically, at least for objective tests. Trainers can also link to a learning management system that reports results to trainees and stores these results for organizational purposes. Behavior is very hard to capture electronically, although some relevant data may be available in other information systems, for example, appraisals, promotions, turnovers, and discipline data. Results are even harder to gather online than traditionally, without face-to-face interaction, feedback, and buy-in. Conservative estimates of online course impact should be used to build credibility. Collecting measures before and after training should be easier electronically than in the traditional classroom. This is especially true for reaction and learning measures. At the least, it will take more work and ingenuity to measure behavior and results electronically. HRD professionals should recognize the importance of evaluating HRD programs and the variety of ways it can be conducted. Given the many constraints placed on HRD efforts, the following are recommended steps. Perform a needs analysis, develop an explicit evaluation strategy, insist on specific training objectives, obtain participant reactions, and plan and execute the evaluation study. These points should be followed by any type of program, whether classroom-based, web-based, or a blended format. However, not every program needs to be evaluated to the same extent. New programs and those with high visibility and expense should be evaluated more thoroughly than proven programs and those offered less frequently. The key is to have a well planned evaluation strategy that sets the stage for how and to what extent each program will be evaluated. The challenges now faced by organizations demand serious and sustained evaluation efforts and results.